Hello, on this edition of Commuter Connections, we've got your best ride to all of the season's baseball action at Oriole Park. We'll meet MDOT-MTA's new Deputy Chief Operating Officer, Frail. We'll visit Professor Verne to see what he's working on. And we've got a look at what's new at the Baltimore Museum of Industry. All here on this edition of Commuter Connections. With most of winter hopefully behind us and spring ahead, our attention turns to the excitement of Orioles baseball at Camden Yards. Orioles fans are looking forward to a fun and rewarding season. The question is, how will you get to the ball game this season? MDOT-MTA Chief Operating Officer Sean Adderson joins us with a few good ways. Welcome to Commuter Connections.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So there will be thousands of fans traveling to Camden Yards to see Orioles baseball this season. What are the benefits of taking MDOT-MTA to the games?
So obviously the biggest benefit is you don't have to pay for parking, you don't have to drive around downtown traffic, searching for parking. You can catch light rail link right to Camden Yards, just a short walk from our light rail station right over to the stadium. So, our best options are obviously using light rail. You can use several bus lines that run right on Pratt Street that will drop you off in front of the stadium complex, and you can walk over, or you can catch Metrolink and get off at Charles Center or get off at Lexington Market and make the walk down to the stadium.
Okay, so it sounds like there are lots of transit options, but the most convenient one is
light rail.
Light rail, okay. Now, how frequent are light rail link trains running on baseball game days?
So we average anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes depending on time of day and which direction you're going, but for the average, most part, it's going to be about a 20-minute headway between trains.
And what will it cost O's fans to ride the service?
We encourage people to do a day pass. It's $4.20, and we encourage you to do that because it gives you a lot of options. One, the pass is good for the entire day, so you can come ahead of time, you can catch dinner, or you can stay a little later after the game and hang out in the area, and it gives you that flexibility. You don't have to worry about the time, and it also allows you different options to go from one mood to another without there being an issue.
And if games run over, is there ever a concern for people using transit?
No, so what we do is we stay in constant contact with the O's. Sometimes there are rain delays or games go in extra innings. And so for the most part, games end around 10 o'clock and our service is running until at least 11:30 through the Camden Yards complex. And so what we'll do is we'll stay an hour after the end of our regular service. And so our last train, if it would normally run through Camden Yards at, let's say, 11:30, we'd be out there until 12:30.
Oh, okay. So you do offer some flexibility so people aren't stranded.
Stranded, yes.
Okay. And I understand now, too, that the Charm Pass is available, is an available option for O's fans coming to the games. Can you tell us a little bit about how Charm Pass works? That
is probably the best way to actually get your fare. One, it's an app. You download it right from either the App Store or from Google Play. The app allows you to load money right onto the pass, and you can buy a variety of single pass, day pass, 30-day pass. Whatever your flavor is in terms of how you want to actually engage with us. But again, what this does is allows you just to flash your phone right to the operator of the coaches or to the fair inspectors. No need to stand in line at our ticket vending machines. No need to carry cash with you, any of those things. And again, it allows you that ultimate flexibility to use all of our system.
And actually, with most folks, you have a phone, so that does make it really convenient.
Yes, in the studies we do, we find that 98% of our riders have smartphones, and so it's a perfect complement to something that they're already using in terms of being able to show their fare.
And there is a 90-minute transfer window using Charm Pass as well?
Yes, absolutely. That's different than what we have on just buying a fare on a coach or buying it at a ticket vending machine. We'll give you a 90-minute transfer period. So if you do buy a one-way fare, we'll allow you a 90-minute transfer to allow you to go from bus to rail and vice versa.
And with all the excitement about the new baseball season, I understand that MDOT MTA also has a new Orioles-themed wrapped bus. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we unveiled the bus at FanFest this year. We took one of our 40-foot coaches and decked it out from head to toe in Orioles colors, and we take and sort of put two of the sort of prominent players on the side of the bus, and we will take that bus and put it on different lines so it gets a chance to move throughout the city and people can sort of show their pride in the Orioles. And we get a lot of oohs and ahs as the bus approaches and they get on. So it's a cool thing to do, and it's a great partnership with the Orioles.
Showing that team spirit, right?
Yes.
And for people who want information on getting to the games using MDOT MTA services, where can they go?
Sure, the best place to go is to our website. That's mta.maryland.gov. You'll find a lot of information from trip planning to the schedules, to fares, and even service alerts. So if there's something going on before you leave for the game, you can find out if there's going to be a delay or something that's going to affect the trip. So it's the best place to go to find out all you need to know about your trip with the MTA.
Okay, well, Sean, thank you so much for joining us again on the show. And thanks for sharing all the great ways that we can get to the games. Hopefully we'll see you there, and hopefully we'll have a lot of wins this season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Up next, we'll introduce you to MDOT MTA's new Deputy Chief Operating Officer of Rail. When we continue, stay with us.
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
It takes the hard work and dedication of many people at MDOT MTA to keep transit moving in Maryland. One of them is MDOT MTA's new Deputy Chief Operating Officer of Rail, Sandra Ford. She joins us today for a look at what she does and the important role she plays in the agency's mission. Welcome to Commuter Connections.
Thank you so much.
So what are the duties and responsibilities of the Deputy Chief Operating Officer of Rail?
I have the wonderful role of leading the experts who are responsible for delivering service, safe, efficient, and reliable service for the greater Baltimore region. And those two areas are the light rail system we have here in Baltimore and also the Metro subway link. So what I do in my role is I'm responsible for guiding them and giving them the visionary leadership that they need to make sure that we're providing service that's taking people to doctor's appointments, their jobs, schools, meeting up with friends. So we're responsible for those things. Also in my role, I'm responsible for making sure that the maintenance operations are intact, service delivery, and also building a team and making sure that we have a good development of employees in those two divisions.
So give us a little bit of a sense of how does your day usually begin?
The first thing I do when I wake up is I try to look to make sure how we are with service in terms of both modes. Where are we? Do we have enough vehicles in order to make service? Do we have enough staff to make service? Are all the stations manned? So I make sure that we are in the proper condition to run rail service.
How many people or areas are you responsible for?
Well, I'm responsible for the light rail link and the metro subway link, and I also have a smaller division of the track and structures. So we're basically responsible for the maintenance and also delivering the service, and that's roughly about 500 people.
And how long have you actually been in transit?
I've had 20 years in transit so far. I started my career in 1998 with New York City Transit as an analyst. So I went up through the ranks of the analyst, and then I moved over into the operations department, and that's where I started.
Oh, okay. And what made you choose a career in transit?
I'm not certain whether I chose a career in transit or the career of transit chose me. I am a second generation transit professional. I grew up in a household, a transportation household, where we understood the value of transportation to the community and also the benefits of the career opportunities in transportation.
Now, I know every job has its challenges. Tell us about some of the challenges of your job that make you so good at what you do.
Well, for the challenges in transportation in general, we are all facing across the industry. We're facing challenges with retirement. We have quite a few people who are retiring, and we're looking to see how we can grab that knowledge before those people walk out. Right now, about 50% of my staff is at the age of retirement. So we're looking to do succession programs and things of that nature to try to capture that knowledge before it goes out the door.
And I know with, you mentioned the challenges, you know, are there other obstacles that you've had to even overcome as a high-ranking woman in transit?
Obstacles, I kind of look at obstacles as things that are put there to challenge you and not necessarily hinder your career or things of that nature, but more so as how are you going to deal with it? This is put in front of you. Are you going to go through it? Are you going to go around it? Are you going to go above it? Are you going to ask someone, hey, can you hand me a ladder? These are the things that we have to do in order to overcome obstacles. They're going to be there anywhere in any industry. But for the most part, I like to just look at it as a challenge to think critically and how we're going to get around it.
Okay, that's a good attitude.
Yeah, yeah,
Very good
it
attitude.
helps. It helps.
And with, you know, talking about, you know, your role as a high-ranking woman, has there been any other women in transit that have helped you along the way or act as a mentor or given you support?
Quite a few women coming up through the ranks, and also I like to make sure that I'm in that same position right now to mentor other women who are coming through the ranks in transportation, making sure that we have diversity, and diversity is key for all organizations. We want to look at people for their backgrounds. We want to look at different experiences. We want to look at people for different thoughts, because those are the things that are critical to making organizations identify problems and be able to solve those problems.
Now, would you recommend transit or transportation to a young person who's still deciding on a career?
Absolutely. I've seen, like I said, I've seen the benefits as a young child, the career opportunities of transportation. And it's a wonderful career. It is definitely a wonderful career. I have enjoyed myself these 20 years, and I would definitely look for younger people who are not sure of what they want to do, but expose them to the possibilities of transportation. In transportation, not only do you have train operators and station agents, you have procurement officers, you have doctors here who are making sure that our staff is well enough to come back to work. We have lawyers here. So there are different types of positions available here. It's a wonderful field, it's a growing field, and it's going to be around forever. Right. We'll be sending people to the moon. So transportation is definitely a career that's going to be around forever.
And people will always want to get from point A to point B.
And they want to do it, and we'll make it happen safely, reliably, and efficiently.
That sounds wonderful. Well, Sandra, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I wish you much continued success in your new job.
Thank you so much.
It's time to visit Professor Verne, our nerdy, eccentric, but knowledgeable go-to person for an understanding of all things technical and scientific in transportation. On this edition of the program, Professor Verne meets up with MDOT MTA Administrator Kevin Quinn for a look at the light rail link wheel truing process.
Professor Verne, should I even ask what that is?
How much time do you have?
Never mind. So, Professor Verne, did you see the Super Bowl?
I didn't catch that one.
You don't watch the Super Bowl?
Oh, yes, Administrator, I do. I saw the one with Joe Montana. Yeah, great game.
Professor Verne, that was in 1984.
Oh, how can I help you today, Administrator?
Professor Verne, here at MTA, I understand that we have a machine that cuts the wheels for our trains. Can you tell me about it?
Absolutely, Administrator. It's called the wheel truing machine. But first, I think we need to talk about how train wheels are designed.
So, how are train wheels designed?
Good question, Administrator. To start with, train wheels have a special shape. It's called the wheel profile, and it includes the running surface and flange of the wheel. You see, the wheel profile has the ideal shape to run upon the rails.
Professor Verne, what's so important about the shape of the train wheels?
Great question, Administrator. You see, the running surface of train wheels is shaped more like a cone instead of being flat. That shape helps them to stay on the rails instead of roll off or derail.
So, the cone shape of the wheels helps the train achieve an equilibrium?
Actually, in this one instance, you happen to be perfectly correct. The shape of the wheels allows the train to achieve stability. Actually, I have a mock-up to demonstrate the principle.
Terrific! Let's check it out.
Yes. Administrator, here we have a mock-up of train tracks, and I have two wheel sets, one with flat-shaped wheels, one with cone-shaped wheels.
Professor Verne, have you been playing with toys?
No, Administrator. My use of toys is strictly for scientific purposes.
Of course it is.
Anyway, as our three independent judges will attest, observe the effect when I place the wheel set with the flat wheels on the train tracks.
Well, the judges have it. Let's never design any flat surface wheels.
Absolutely, Administrator. Now observe the effect when I place the wheel set with the cone-shaped wheels on the train tracks.
Good job of proving why the shape of the wheel is so important. Now, where does the wheel truing machine come into the picture?
Administrator, as always, your questions are right on point. You see, we need a way to maintain the shape of the train wheels. That's where the truing machine, or wheel lathe, comes into the picture.
Professor Verne, I need to see the wheel truing machine in operation.
Absolutely, Administrator. Let's go to the light rail maintenance shop and check it out.
Excellent.
Administrator, here we have a truck assembly. Now, it contains traction motors, gearboxes, brakes, and wheel sets. And here we have a wheel surface and a flange. We're going to be cutting that today on the truing machine. Administrator, I've asked light rail machinist Mr. Johnson to show us the truing machine today.
That's great. Hi, Mr. Johnson. How are you today?
I'm fine, Mr. Quinn, thank you.
Mr. Johnson, would you go bring the train in?
Sure.
Administrator, here we have the underfloor wheel truing machine. Notice the tracks leading to and from the pit. This allows us to drive the entire train or just a truck assembly over the pit for wheel truing. You see, the steel wheels experience wear due to friction as they accumulate mileage running on the steel rails. Now, the worst case example of this is called a wheel flat.
Oh, come on, Professor Verne. You're not telling me that trains get flat tires.
Actually, yes, they do, Administrator. You see, the metal-to-metal friction grinds a flat spot into the cone-shaped surface. The truing machine is then used to cut or mill off a small amount of metal to restore the profile shape. Administrator, these are the control panels, and this is the setup station, where a skilled machinist operates the truing machine. See here, this is a cutter, and here is the bit, also called a carbide, and I have one up close to show you here.
Wow, so that square thing is the cutting bit?
Absolutely, Administrator, it does the job. Now, this is the wheel profile cutting guide. Imagine you're having a key duplicated. The cutting guide acts as the original key, and the wheel acts as the duplicate key.
So this is basically a big key duplicating machine? Great analogy, Professor Verne. Now let's see it in action.
Now we see a portion of the rails are moved away so that a set of drive rollers can engage the wheel set. The hold-down arms move into position and apply pressure to secure the wheel set during cutting. Here we see Mr. Johnson start the machine and use an instrument to take an accurate measurement of the wheels. Then he adjusts the cutting depth so that the final result will have the two wheels nearly equal in size. See here the cutter approaching the wheel. Now see the cutting begin. Notice the steel shards coming off the wheel and deposited to scrap. You can clearly distinguish the freshly cut steel.
Wow, look at those shards of steel getting cut off the wheel.
Yes, Administrator, it's quite an operation. Now, after the machinist finishes cutting the wheel surface, the flange is cut next. Then the process is repeated for every wheel that needs truing.
Well, next time I get a key duplicated, I'm gonna remember this.
Just ahead, a look at what's new at the Baltimore Museum of Industry. That's next.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Maryland has many interesting and exciting places of interest to visit and explore. One of them is accessible by transit right here in downtown Baltimore. It's the Baltimore Museum of Industry, and its executive director, Anita Kassoff, joins us with an interesting look at what you'll find there. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So now the Baltimore Museum of Industry, that's a fascinating place. For those who have never had an opportunity to visit, how would you best describe the museum?
Well, I'd start by saying it's the best museum in town. And then I would go on to say that we are located in an historic oyster cannery in South Baltimore, and our displays are immersive and quirky and authentic, kind of like Baltimore. So we have everything from a belt-driven machine shop where the machines really work, to a 19th century garment loft, to a video game exhibition where kids can actually make their own video games and post them online and learn about the video game industry that's here in Hunt Valley.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. So how long has the museum existed?
The museum started out in 1977 as a project of then Mayor William Donald Schaefer, who was concerned that we were losing our industrial heritage and wanted to start collecting remnants of that heritage. And we've been in our current site since 1981.
Okay, and I know you mentioned South Baltimore. What's the address to the museum?
The address is 1415 Key Highway. So we're right where Locust Point and Federal Hill and Riverside come together.
You mentioned a little bit about what's on display. Tell us a little bit about, more of what you have there. And it sounds like you have some interactive things to really engage young people as well.
Yeah, we actually just restored a couple of galleries that are interesting and have hands-on opportunities. One is our transportation gallery, where we tell the story of Crown Central Petroleum, which was a Baltimore company, and talk about how that business helped shape American car culture. And there are lots of hands-on opportunities in there, including a 1953 Packard that kids can climb into. Not just kids, actually adults love it too. It's a great photo op. We also just restored our communications gallery, where we talk about the history of the telecommunications industry in Maryland.
So how do you, who chooses these exhibits, and how do you select what you will display next?
That's a good question. We have a terrific staff, but it's not just the exhibitions and collection staff who come up with ideas. Everybody comes up with ideas, and we invite them from the public as well. We're really committed to getting community voices into the museum. We have a feedback kiosk where we ask our visitors their opinions. Sometimes they tell us things that are tough. But we've learned a lot from them. One of the things that visitors have been telling us over the years is that we should have an exhibition about Bethlehem steel. We're a Baltimore Industry Museum, and we don't tell that much about Bethlehem steel. So we've just launched a partnership with Trade Point Atlantic, which is redeveloping the old Bethlehem steel site at Sparrows Point. And we are going to tell the Bethlehem steel story. We're going to go out into the community. We're going to talk to Bethlehem steel retirees. We're going to learn more about how they want their stories told, and then we'll put in a long-term exhibition at the museum.
That should be awesome.
Yeah.
That should be awesome. So how many people visit the museum each year?
Our total visitations about 100,000. Of that, about 30,000 are school kids. We serve kids from all over Maryland with our interactive school programs. And we also get quite a lot of visitors who rent the museum for weddings on the weekends, for corporate events during the week. Because of our location, our beautiful waterfront location, and they are surrounded by history when they're having their events there.
I know a while back I had visited when my children were young as well, and they just loved it. I mean, it was just to see them walk around this place, and some of the things you look at, you're like, wow, I remember that. And, you know, just an old washing machine or just something that, you know, you just look at it, it's just so neat.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite things about the museum is to go in and see people across generations talking about Baltimore industry and Baltimore people, parents or grandparents sharing their recollections with their kids.
So there are other exciting things that you do at the museum aside from the daily exhibits and displays. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Sure. We have a regular series of public programs that range from film screenings to lectures to presentations for all ages. Another thing that we're really proud of is our Saturday Weekend Workers programs. Those are included with museum admission, and they're designed to engage kids in hands-on activities that are engineering-based or that help them discover more about how things work in the world around them. So there are a lot of things going on for families all the time at the museum, and I would encourage people to visit our website to find out more about upcoming programs.
And if people want to visit the museum, what's a convenient way for them to travel to get there?
We are on local link number 71, and we are noticeable by the big Bethlehem steel shipyard crane right outside our front entrance. Right now it's a kind of a rusty red, but come this spring it will be restored and painted its historic green. So it's a landmark that's hard to miss and that has a really proud history as a Bethlehem steel crane.
So how much does it cost to visit the museum, and what are your hours?
General admission is $12. Seniors are $9, students are $7. And we are open every day but Monday from 10 to 4.
Oh, okay, great. And I understand that, you know, with the thought and promise of warm weather coming, that there might be something a little special planned at the museum around July 4th. You want to tell us about that?
We love warm weather at the museum, though it's hard to believe that it's coming looking outside now.
I know.
July 4th is an annual celebration at the museum. The barge that sets off the fireworks is really close to our campus. I mean, it's literally the best spot in town to watch the fireworks. So we open up the parking lot to ticket purchasers who can drive in with their cars and they can bring their picnics, but we also have food and drink and entertainment. It's a really terrific opportunity to be with your family in the best spot in town for watching the fireworks.
If someone wants more information on the museum or just to get more information even about the upcoming event on July 4th, where can they go?
They should visit our website, thebmi.org.
Anita, thank you so much. It's been great talking with you, and hopefully I'll see you over at the museum real soon.
Please come visit.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of another edition of Commuter Connections, and my last show as your host. There will be a new host next month. It's truly been a pleasure sharing this time with you. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.